The year was 2147. Humanity had finally received an invitation to join the Galactic Federation. This was the biggest moment in human history. After 50 years of peaceful space travel, the aliens had decided that Earth was ready to sit at the big table with the rest of the galaxy. Station Omega-7 floated in the darkness of space like a giant metal flower. It was the place where all important meetings happened. Ships from 100 different worlds came and went every day. Strange creatures walked its halls. Some had tentacles. Some had wings. Some looked like nothing humans had ever seen before. On this day, a human ship arrived carrying Earth's finest soldiers. They were there to show respect. They were there to make a good impression. They wore their best uniforms and stood tall and proud. Staff Sergeant Park Dae-ho stood among them. He was a United States Marine with 15 years of service. He had fought in 3 wars. He had medals that he never talked about. He had scars that he never showed. But looking at him, you would never guess any of this. Dae-ho was not a big man. He stood 5 feet 9 inches tall. He had a round face and calm eyes. He never raised his voice. He never lost his temper. His fellow Marines often joked that nothing could make him angry. They had seen him smile while bullets flew past his head. They had seen him laugh while carrying wounded friends to safety. He was 38 years old. His hair was cut short. His uniform was perfect. He stood at attention like a statue, waiting for the ceremony to begin. Admiral Yoon Ji-ae walked past her soldiers, checking their appearance one last time. She was the commander of the human delegation. She was a small woman with silver hair and sharp eyes. She had fought her way up through the ranks. She trusted her people with her life. She stopped in front of Dae-ho. "How are you feeling, Sergeant?" "Ready, Admiral," he replied. His voice was soft and steady. "Good. Remember, we're here to make friends. Smile. Be polite. Don't start any wars." "Yes, Admiral." She moved on. Dae-ho remained still. His eyes watched everything. The great doors of the reception hall opened. Aliens began to enter. There were the Malari, tall and thin like walking trees. There were the Keshans, short and round with 6 eyes. There were the Thren, who floated above the ground on clouds of gas. And then there were the Velthari. Everyone in the room turned to look. Even the other aliens seemed nervous. The Velthari were famous throughout the galaxy. They were warriors. They were conquerors. They had defeated more species than anyone could count. They stood 8 feet tall. They had 4 arms. Their bodies were covered in black exoskeletons that looked like armor made of stone. Their eyes glowed red in their skull-like faces. When they walked, the floor shook. Their leader entered last. His name was High Blade Torak. He was the greatest warrior of the Velthari people. He had killed enemies on 50 different worlds. His exoskeleton was covered with marks, each one representing a victory in single combat. Torak looked around the room. His red eyes moved over the gathered aliens. Then they found the humans. He smiled. It was not a nice smile. "So," he said loudly, "these are the famous humans." His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. I expected something more impressive. The room went quiet. Everyone watched. Admiral Yoon step forward. "High Blade Torak, on behalf of Earth, I welcome you to this gathering. We hope to build a lasting friendship between our peoples." Torak ignored her. He walked toward the line of Marines, studying them like a farmer studying cattle. He stopped in front of each one, looking them up and down. Some of the Marines were tall and muscular. Torak laughed at them. "Soft," he said. "Weak, no shells, no claws. How did you creatures survive on your own planet?" He continued down the line. Then he stopped. He had reached Dae-ho. Torak leaned down, bringing his face close to the Marine. His breath smelled like metal and smoke. His forearms hung at his sides like weapons waiting to be used. "This one is even smaller than the others," Torek announced. "Is this a child? Do humans send their children to important meetings?" Deho said nothing. His eyes remained fixed forward. His face showed no expression. "Look at me when I speak to you, creature," Torek growled. Deho did not move. Lieutenant Kim Hanna stood nearby, watching with growing worry. She was the delegation's intelligence officer. She had studied the Velthari for months. She knew their customs. She knew their history. And she knew that Torek was trying to start something. "Sergeant," she whispered, "don't react. That's what he wants." Deho gave the tiniest nod, but Torek was not finished. He circled around Deho slowly, like a predator examining prey. The other Velthari watched with amusement. This was entertainment to them. "On my world," Torek said, speaking loudly so everyone could hear, "we have a way of testing new species. We find their strongest warrior. We see what they are made of." He stopped in front of Deho again. "But I don't think I need to test you. I can already see what you are made of." He raised his upper right hand. "You are made of nothing." The slap came without warning. Torek's massive hand struck Deho's face with terrible force. The sound echoed through the silent hall like a gunshot. Deho's head snapped to the side. Blood flew from his split lip. He staggered but did not fall. The other Marines tensed. Hands moved toward weapons. Admiral Yoon raised her hand, ordering them to stop. Torek laughed. The other Velthari joined him. The sound filled the room like thunder. "You see?" Torek shouted. "This is the best humanity has to offer. A small creature who cannot even stand up for himself. Pathetic, weak, worthless." Deho slowly straightened. He wiped the blood from his mouth with the back of his hand. He looked at the red stain on his skin for a moment. Then he looked up at Torek. Something had changed in his eyes. They were still calm. But now there was something else there. Something cold. Something ancient. Something that had been sleeping for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. But somehow, everyone in the room heard him clearly. "Is that a formal challenge?" The laughter stopped. Torek's red eyes widened. The other Velthari went still. Even the aliens who had been watching from the sides seemed to hold their breath. Under Galactic Federation law, a formal challenge could not be refused. To refuse meant shame. It meant admitting weakness. No warrior could walk away from those words. Torek had made a mistake. He had wanted to humiliate. He had not wanted to fight. But now he had no choice. The small human with the bloody lip was staring up at him, waiting for an answer. And for the first time in his life, Highblade Torek felt something he did not recognize. It took him a moment to realize what it was. Doubt. It was doubt. The silence in the great hall was heavy. It pressed down on everyone like a weight. 1,000 eyes watched the small human and the giant alien warrior. No one moved. No one spoke. Torek stared down at Deho. His four hands opened and closed slowly. His mind was racing. He had made a mistake. He knew it now, but he could not take it back. The words had been spoken. The challenge had been made. "You wish to die, little human?" Torek's voice was no longer laughing. It was hard and sharp like a blade. "Very well. I accept your challenge. Traditional combat. No weapons. No armor. We fight until one of us is dead." A murmur ran through the crowd. Traditional combat was the oldest form of Velthari warfare. It was how they had settled disputes for 10,000 years. No Velthari had ever lost such a fight against another species. Their exoskeletons were too strong. Their forearms were too fast. Their bodies were built for killing. Admiral Yoon pushed her way through the crowd. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "Sergeant Park, you do not have to do this. We can find another way. We can negotiate." Daeho turned to look at her. Blood still dripped from his lip. "With respect, Admiral, no, we cannot. He struck me in front of the entire galaxy. If I walk away now, every human who comes after me will be treated the same way. They will think we are weak. They will think we can be pushed around." "He will kill you," Admiral Yoon said quietly. "You know what the Velthari are capable of." Daeho nodded. "I know exactly what they are capable of. I have studied them. I have read every report. I have watched every recording of their combat. Then you know you cannot win." The corner of Daeho's mouth lifted slightly. It was almost a smile. The Velthari believe no one can beat them. That is their weakness. They have never faced someone who knows their bodies better than they do. Lieutenant Kim Hana moved close to them. She spoke in a low voice so the aliens could not hear. "Sergeant, I need to tell you something. The Velthari exoskeleton has weak points. The joints are thinner. The throat is vulnerable. And there is a nerve cluster at the base of the skull where 3 plates meet. If you hit it hard enough, it will kill them instantly." Daeho looked at her with interest. "The nerve cluster. I read about that. The report said it was nearly impossible to reach. It is. The Velthari protected with their upper arms. No one has ever managed to strike it in combat. No one has ever tried," Daeho said, "because no one has ever thought small enough." Before Kim could ask what he meant, Tarek's voice boomed across the hall. "Enough talking with your females. Human, come, let us finish this. I promise to kill you quickly. It is the only mercy I will show your pathetic species." Daeho turned away from his fellow humans. He walked toward the center of the hall where a space had been cleared. Aliens of all species gathered around the edges, forming a ring. Many of them had never seen a human before today. Now they would see one die. Betting pools opened within seconds. The odds against Daeho were 1,000 to 1. Some aliens bet on how long the fight would last. Most guessed less than 5 seconds. A few generous souls gave the human 10. Ambassador Cho Seung-jin stood at the edge of the crowd, his face gray with worry. He had spent 3 years building relationships with alien governments. He had worked so hard to get humanity a seat at the table. Now it might all end because of one soldier's pride. "This is a disaster," he muttered. "If Park dies, the Velthari will use it as proof that humans are inferior. Our position in the Federation will be ruined before it even begins." Commander Baek Tae-young stood beside him. He was a military man, not a diplomat. He saw things differently. And if he wins, he won't win. No one beats the Velthari. Tae-young watched Daeho walk calmly toward the ring. "I served with Park for 5 years. I have seen him do things that should not be possible. Once, in a prison camp, he took apart 6 guards with his bare hands. He had been starving for 3 weeks. He had been tortured for 6 months. And he still killed them all in less than a minute." Seung-jin looked at him. "What happened to him in that camp?" "I don't know. He never talks about it. But whatever they did to him, whatever they tried to break, they failed. They created something else instead. Something harder than they could imagine." In the center of the ring, Daeho stopped. He removed his dress uniform jacket and folded it carefully. He handed it to Lieutenant Kim, who had followed him to the edge. "Hold this for me," he said. "I will need it after." Kim took the jacket. Her hands were shaking. "Sergeant, please be careful." "I am always careful," Daeho replied. "That is why I am still alive." He stepped into the ring wearing only his undershirt and uniform pants. His arms were visible now. The crowd gasped. His skin was covered in scars. Long ones, Short ones. Burn marks. Knife marks. His body was a map of pain. What happened to this human? A Malari observer asked. Admiral Yoon answered without looking away from her soldier. He spent 4 years as a prisoner of war. The enemy wanted information about our military. They tortured him every day. They broke his bones. They cut his flesh. They burned him. They tried everything they could think of. Did he give them what they wanted? No, he never said a word. Not one word in 4 years. Torak entered the ring from the other side. He towered over Daeho like a mountain over a stone. His exoskeleton gleamed under the lights. His forearms spread wide, showing off his power. The crowd cheered for him. They knew who would win. The two fighters faced each other. Torak looked down at the small human with his scarred body and calm eyes. For just a moment, something flickered in the alien's expression. Was it confusion? Was it concern? It was gone before anyone could be sure. Any last words, human? Torak asked. Daeho rolled his shoulders slowly. He moved his neck from side to side. He flexed his fingers. His movements were smooth and practiced. He had done this 1,000 times before. Yes, he said quietly. I want you to know something. I am not going to fight you the way you expect. I am not going to try to match your strength. I am not going to try to block your arms or survive your attacks. Torak laughed. Then what are you going to do? Daeho looked up at him. His eyes were empty. His face showed nothing. He looked like a man who had already accepted death and found peace with it. I am going to kill you, he said simply. And I'm going to do it in less time than it takes you to realize what is happening. A bell rang. The fight had begun. The bell echoed through the hall. Every eye was fixed on the ring. Every breath was held. History was about to be made. Torak moved first. He was fast for his size. His forearms spread wide like the jaws of a trap. He charged at the small human with all his strength. His feet hit the ground like hammers. The floor cracked beneath him. His red eyes burned with killing rage. This was the standard Velthray attack. It had worked for 3,000 years. Rush the enemy. Grab them with 4 arms. Crush them before they could react. Simple, effective, deadly. But Daeho did not run. He did not try to dodge to the side. He did not put up his hands to defend himself. Instead, he ran straight toward Torak. The crowd gasped. This was suicide. This was madness. The human was running into the arms of death. Torak's 4 hands reached out to grab the tiny creature. His fingers were like steel cables. His grip could crush starship metal. In 1 second, he would have the human. In 2 seconds, the human would be dead. But then something happened that no one expected. Daeho dropped, not just ducked. Not just bent his knees. He dropped completely, his entire body going horizontal in mid-run. He hit the ground on his side and slid forward on the smooth floor. He passed between Torak's legs like water flowing through a crack. Time seemed to slow down as Daeho slid under the giant alien. His right hand shot upward. It moved faster than anyone could follow. It struck the inside of Torak's right knee joint with impossible precision. The blow hit the one spot where the exoskeleton was thin. The one spot where the armor plates did not overlap. The sound was like a branch breaking. Torak's leg buckled. Pain exploded through his body. He had never felt pain in combat before. His exoskeleton had always protected him. But now something had cracked inside his knee. He stumbled forward, trying to catch his balance. 1 second had passed. Daeho was already behind him. He had rolled to his feet the moment he cleared Torak's legs. Now he moved again. His body unfolded like a spring releasing. He jumped onto Torak's back. The Velthary was still falling forward, still trying to understand what had happened to his knee. He felt weight on his back. He felt small hands grabbing the ridges of his exoskeleton. The human was climbing him like a ladder. Torak reached back with his two upper arms. He tried to grab the creature on his back, but Deho was fast. He scrambled upward, using every edge and crack as a handhold. He moved like a spider. He moved like something born to climb in a heartbeat. He was on Torak's shoulders. His knees locked around the alien's neck. His legs pinned Torak's upper arms against his body. The Velthri could not reach him. The human was sitting in the one spot where forearms could not. 2 seconds had passed. The crowd watched in shocked silence. No one had ever seen anything like this. The small human was riding the giant warrior like a child rides a parent's shoulders. But there was nothing playful about what happened next. Deho's right hand changed shape. His fingers pressed together. His muscles locked from shoulder to fingertip. His hand became a weapon, not a fist. Something sharper. Something designed to pierce. He knew exactly where to strike. He had studied Velthri anatomy for years. He had memorized every nerve, every weak point, every place where their armor failed them. And he knew about the cluster of nerves at the base of the skull. The place where 3 plates met. The place that no enemy had ever reached. His hand came down like a hammer dot. It struck the back of Torak's head with all the force his body could produce. It hit the exact spot where the skull plates joined. The sound was like stone breaking, like pottery shattering, like the end of something that had seemed unbreakable. 3 seconds had passed. Torak's red eyes went wide. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. His forearms fell to his sides. His body went stiff. Then he fell. He fell forward like a tree cut at the base. He hit the ground with a crash that shook the entire hall. Dust rose from the cracked floor. His body did not move. His eyes did not blink. He was dead before he landed. Deho stepped off the body. He straightened his undershirt. He ran his hand through his short hair. His breathing was slightly faster than normal. That was the only sign that he had done anything at all. The silence in the hall was complete. 1,000 aliens stared at the scene before them. The greatest warrior of the Velthri Empire lay dead on the ground. Standing over him was a small human with a bloody lip and calm eyes. No one could speak. No one could move. No one could believe what they had just seen. Lieutenant Kim was the first to recover. She walked forward on shaking legs. She was still holding Deho's jacket. Her face was white as paper. "That was 3 seconds," she whispered. Deho took his jacket from her hands. He put it on carefully, adjusting the collar and smoothing the fabric. His movements were slow and precise, as if he had all the time in the world. 2.7, he corrected quietly. "I was slow on the first strike. My angle was not perfect." Kim stared at him. You were slow?" "Yes. I should have cracked his knee in half a second. I took almost a full second. I am getting old." He finished buttoning his jacket. He looked down at the body of Torak. There was no pride in his eyes. There was no joy. There was only the calm satisfaction of a job completed. "I need to clean the blood from my face," he said. "The Admiral will want me to look presentable for the rest of the ceremony." He walked toward the edge of the ring. The crowd parted before him like water before a ship. Aliens who had laughed at him minutes ago now stepped back with fear in their eyes. They looked at his small body and his scarred arms and his empty expression, and they wondered what else hid behind those quiet eyes. Admiral Yoon met him at the edge. Her face showed nothing, but her hands were trembling. "Sergeant Park," she said formally. "Well done." "Thank you, Admiral. How did you know where to strike?" Deho looked back at the body one more time. "I studied, Admiral. That is all. I studied, and I practiced, and I waited." The Velthari thought their armor made them safe. They forgot that every armor has weaknesses. Every body has places where it can break. You just have to know where to look. He turned back to her. His lip was still bleeding, but he was smiling now. It was a small smile, barely there. Humans are good at finding those places, he said. It is what we do. It is what we have always done. Behind them, the Velthari delegation stood frozen with shock. Their greatest champion was dead. Their pride was shattered. And the creature who had done it was walking away like nothing had happened. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every planet, every station, every ship knew what had happened on Station Omega 7. A human had killed a Velthari High Blade in single combat. Not just killed, destroyed. In less time than it took to draw breath. The recordings played on every screen. Aliens watched the fight again and again. They slowed it down. They zoomed in. They studied every movement of the small human's body. And no matter how many times they watched, they could not understand what they were seeing. How had he moved so fast? How had he known where to strike? How had such a small creature brought down such a mighty warrior? The Galactic Federation was in chaos. On the Velthari homeworld, the news arrived like a bomb. Torak had been more than a warrior. He had been a symbol. He had represented everything the Velthari believed about themselves. They were the strongest. They were the fastest. They were unbeatable. And now they had been beaten. By a human. By a creature they had called soft and weak and worthless. The Velthari Council met in emergency session. They screamed and argued and demanded revenge. They wanted war with Earth. They wanted to burn human cities. They wanted to prove that Torak's death was a mistake, a trick, something that could never happen again. But cooler heads reminded them of the truth. The fight had been legal. It had followed all the ancient rules. The human had won fairly. If the Velthari attacked Earth now, they would be seen as sore losers. They would lose more honor than they had already lost. So they did the only thing they could do. They demanded an investigation. They claimed that the human must have cheated somehow. They said that no natural creature could do what Deho had done. Federation medical officers examined Deho publicly. They scanned his body with every machine they had. They tested his blood. They measured his muscles. They looked for hidden weapons or mechanical parts or chemical enhancements. They found nothing. He is completely natural, the lead medical officer announced to the gathered aliens. His body contains no technology. His muscles are normal human muscles. His bones are normal human bones. Everything about him is ordinary. Then how did he do it? The Velthari ambassador demanded. How did he break through an exoskeleton with his bare hands? Admiral Yoon stepped forward. She had been waiting for this moment. She had known the questions would come. And she had prepared her answer. You want to understand how Sergeant Park did what he did? She said, I will show you. She activated the hall's display system. Images appeared in the air above the crowd. Images from Earth's history. This is humanity, she said. This is what we are. The images showed ancient warriors with swords and spears. They showed soldiers in trenches. They showed fighters in cages. They showed thousands of years of human combat. We do not have exoskeletons, Yoon continued. We do not have claws or fangs or poison. We do not have forearms or thick skin or natural weapons. Evolution did not give us any of those things. She paused, letting the aliens look at the images. So we learned to work with what we had. We studied our own bodies. We studied our enemies' bodies. We developed systems of fighting that could let a small person defeat a large one. We created martial arts that could kill with a single touch. New images appeared. Diagrams of the human body. Pressure points. Weak spots. Vulnerable areas. Every creature has weaknesses, Yun said. Every body has places where it can be hurt. Humans have spent 10,000 years learning where those places are. Not just on our own bodies. On every body. She looked directly at the Velthri ambassador. Sergeant Park has studied 7 different fighting systems. He has spent 20 years learning about alien biology. When he looked at Highblade Torek, he did not see an invincible warrior. He saw 3 weak points and calculated exactly how much force was needed to exploit them. Lieutenant Kim stepped forward to add her own words. Humans are the galaxy's most dangerous predators, she said quietly. We just do not look like it. We do not have big teeth or sharp claws. We have something more dangerous. We have patience. We have intelligence. And we have a willingness to do whatever is necessary to survive. The Velthri ambassador was silent. He looked at the images of human fighters throughout history. He looked at the diagrams of weak points and killing strikes. He looked at the small human officers standing before him. And for the first time, he understood. Humans were not weak. They had never been weak. They were simply different. They were predators who did not look like predators. They were killers who smiled and spoke softly and seemed harmless. That made them more dangerous than any creature with claws or fangs. In the days that followed, everything changed for humanity. Ambassador Cho Seung-jin found himself overwhelmed with meeting requests. Species that had ignored Earth for years suddenly wanted to talk. They wanted trade agreements. They wanted military alliances. They wanted to be friends with the creatures who had killed a Velthri Highblade in 3 seconds. This is incredible, Seung-jin said to Commander Taeyang. We have received more diplomatic contacts in 3 days than we received in the past 3 years. Everyone wants to work with us now. They are afraid of us, Taeyang replied. That is the real reason. Is that a bad thing? Taeyang thought about it. No, he said finally. Fear and respect are not so different. Both will keep us safe. On Station Omega 7, Daeho sat alone in his quarters. He was cleaning his uniform. The blood had dried on his collar. It needed to be washed out carefully to avoid staining. There was a knock at his door. Lieutenant Kim entered without waiting for permission. Sergeant, she said, how are you feeling? Daeho did not look up from his work. I am fine. Why would I not be fine? You killed someone today. Most people would feel something about that. Daeho was silent for a moment. His hands continued working on the uniform. Finally, he spoke. Torek wanted to kill me. He wanted to humiliate my people. He thought we were weak because we are small. He thought he could hurt us without consequence. He looked up at Kim. His eyes were calm but tired. I taught him that he was wrong. That is all. That's all. I am not proud of it. I am not ashamed of it. It was simply necessary. Kim sat down across from him. The galaxy is talking about you. They are saying you are the most dangerous human alive. That is not true. There are many humans more dangerous than me. I'm just the one who was in the right place at the right time. Who could be more dangerous than you? Daeho smiled slightly. You would be surprised, Lieutenant. Humanity has been fighting for survival since we climbed down from the trees. We have warriors who could make me look slow and clumsy. We have fighters who have killed more enemies than I have ever seen. He set down his uniform and looked at her seriously. But that is our secret. That is what the galaxy does not understand. Every human is dangerous. Every single one. Because we do not fight with claws or teeth or armor. We fight with our minds. We fight with knowledge. We fight with the understanding that every enemy, no matter how strong, has a weakness. Kim nodded slowly. She was beginning to understand. And today, Daeho finished. The galaxy learned that lesson for the first time. Outside his window, ships came and went from Station Omega-7. Aliens of 100 different species walked its halls. And all of them, every single one, looked at humans differently now. The small, soft creatures from Earth were no longer a joke. They were a warning. 6 months passed. The galaxy continued to turn. Stars burned. Planets spun. Ships flew between worlds, carrying goods and people and ideas. But something had changed. Everyone felt it. The balance of power had shifted. Humanity was no longer the new species. They were no longer the small creatures who had just arrived at the galactic table. Now they were something else. Something that other species looked at with new eyes. On Earth, the changes were visible everywhere. Military funding increased. Training programs expanded. Young people who had never thought about combat careers suddenly wanted to serve. They had seen what one human could do against the galaxy's greatest warrior. They wanted to learn those skills for themselves. Staff Sergeant Park Daeho received a promotion. He was Master Sergeant Park Daeho now. But more importantly, he received a new assignment. He was named Earth's first Xenocombat instructor. His job was simple but important. He would teach other humans how to fight aliens. He would study the bodies of different species. He would find their weaknesses. He would develop techniques to exploit those weaknesses. And he would pass that knowledge on to Earth's defenders. His first class had 50 students. They came from every branch of the military. They came from every country on Earth. They were the best fighters humanity had to offer. And they looked at their new teacher with a mixture of respect and fear. Daeho stood before them on the first day of training. He was still small. He was still quiet. He still looked like someone you could easily forget. You will not always be bigger than your enemy, he told them. You will not always be stronger. You will not always be faster. But you will always be smarter. That is your weapon. That is what makes humans dangerous. He walked among the rows of students, looking at each one in turn. The galaxy respects strength. They have seen our ships. They have seen our weapons. They have seen our numbers. But they did not truly fear us until 6 months ago. Do you know why? No one answered. Because they did not know what we could do without ships or weapons or numbers. They did not know what a single human could do with nothing but hands and knowledge and will. He stopped in front of a young soldier. She was tall and muscular, with the confident look of someone who had won many fights. You think you are strong, Daeho said to her. You have beaten many opponents. You have trained your body to be a weapon. Yes, sir, the soldier replied. Good. That is the foundation. But it is not enough. A Valkyrie is stronger than you. A Keshin is faster than you. A Thren can attack you without touching you. If you fight them the way you fight humans, you will lose. You will die. He stepped back to address the whole class. I am going to teach you something different. I am going to teach you how to fight creatures that are bigger and stronger and stranger than anything you have faced. I am going to teach you how to find the weakness in anybody. I am going to teach you how to kill with a single blow. His voice was still soft. His face was still calm. But every student felt the weight of his words. When you leave this program, you will be the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. Not because of your muscles. Not because of your speed. Because of what you know. Because of how you think. Because when you look at an enemy, you will see exactly how to break them. The training began that day. It would continue for months. And when those 50 soldiers graduated, they would spread across Earth's military forces. They would teach what they had learned. And the knowledge would spread like seeds in fertile ground not far away. On Station Omega-7, a new statue stood in the memorial garden. It was a place where the greatest warriors of history were remembered. Massive monuments honored champions from 100 different worlds. Giants carved from stone. Heroes frozen in metal. Among them stood a new figure. It was small compared to the others. It showed a human male of average height, standing at attention. His face was calm. His eyes looked forward. He wore a simple military uniform. The plaque beneath it read, Master Sergeant Park Dae-ho. 3 seconds. Visitors came from across the galaxy to see it. Some laughed at first. What was this tiny statue doing among the giants? But then they read the plaque. Then they remembered the story. Then they understood. Someone had scratched 4 words into the base of the statue. They appeared in a dozen different alien languages, written by visitors from many worlds. The same 4 words, repeated again and again. Humanity will remember this. Admiral Yoon stood in her office on Earth, looking out at the night sky. The stars were bright. Somewhere out there, ships carried human diplomats and soldiers and traders. Humans were spreading across the galaxy, taking their place among the older species, building relationships, building power. Commander Taeyong entered her office. He looked tired but satisfied. The latest reports from the frontier, he said. Pirate attacks on human vessels have dropped by 90%. The Valkyrie have pulled back from 3 disputed systems. And we have received 12 new requests for military alliance. You nodded slowly. Fear is a powerful thing. It is not just fear, Taeyong replied. It is respect. They see us differently now. They see what we can do. They do not want us as enemies. And what about the Valkyrie? They are still angry. Let them be angry. They cannot touch us now. If they attack, they know what will happen. We will not just fight back. We will show the entire galaxy how to beat them. Every species they have ever conquered will learn from us. Their empire will crumble. Yoon turned from the window. That is exactly what worries me. Power like that must be used carefully. We cannot become the thing we replaced. We won't. Humans are not conquerors like the Valkyrie. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We just want our place in it. And now we have that place. Yes, thanks to one quiet soldier who refused to accept a slap to the face. On the other side of Earth, Master Sergeant Dae-ho finished his last class of the day. His students filed out, exhausted and sore but excited. They had learned things they never thought possible. They had seen what human bodies could do with proper training. Dae-ho sat alone in the empty training room. He looked at his hands. The same hands that had killed Torak. The same hands that had changed history. Lieutenant Kim entered the room. She had been promoted too. She was Captain Kim now, head of Earth's Xenobiology Research Division. Her job was to study alien bodies and find their weaknesses. She worked closely with Dae-ho's training program. The new batch of data came in, she said. We have complete anatomical studies of 15 more species. I think we can develop combat techniques for all of them within 6 months. Dae-ho nodded but did not speak. Kim sat down beside him. Something is bothering you. I am thinking about the future, he said quietly. About what we are building here. A stronger humanity. A safer Earth. Is that bad? No, but I wonder sometimes. The Valkyrie became what they are because they were the strongest. They stopped learning. They stopped growing. They thought nothing could challenge them. He looked at Kim with serious eyes. We cannot make the same mistake. We cannot become so confident in our abilities that we forget to be humble. The galaxy is large. There are species out there we have not met yet. Species that might be even more dangerous than us. Kim considered his words. So what do? We keep learning. We keep training. We keep studying. We never assume we know everything. And we never ever believe that we cannot be beaten. He stood up and walked toward the door. At the threshold, he stopped and looked back. That is the real lesson of what happened on Station Omega 7. Tarek lost because he thought he was unbeatable. He stopped looking for weaknesses because he believed he had none. His pride killed him more than my hands did. Kim nodded slowly. She understood. Humanity must never make that mistake, Deho said. We must always remember that somewhere, somehow, there is something that can beat us. That knowledge will keep us sharp. That fear will keep us alive. He walked out into the evening air. The sun was setting over the training complex. Soldiers moved across the grounds, practicing movements that could kill aliens. A new generation was learning the skills that would protect humanity among the stars. Deho watched them for a moment. Then he smiled slightly and headed home. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed with it. And whatever came next, they would be ready. They would always be ready. Because humans did not survive by being the strongest, or the fastest, or the deadliest dot. They survived by being the most adaptable, the most patient, the most willing to learn from their mistakes. And that, more than anything else, was what made them truly dangerous.